This is my eldest sister. Her name is Mary Keegan. She was 19 years of age when she died in the fire in the Stardust disaster in Artane on February the 14th, 1981. My name is Damien Keegan. I am the youngest brother to Mary and Martina Keegan, who were both killed in the Stardust disaster. I speak here today on behalf of my sisters Anthony, Lorraine, Suzanne, and brothers John and Neville. I want to give you all an insight and portrait of how beautiful, dearly loved and very special our sisters Mary and Martina were to all of us. Here today I will speak about my eldest sister Mary Keegan, R.I.P. Our sisters' names were Mary Theresa Keegan, aged 19, and Martina Elaine Keegan, aged 16. They were both real people. Truly loved by their mum Christine, R.I.P., and dad John Keegan, and all of us, their brothers and sisters. Mary was the eldest of 8 children. She was born on the 14th of June 1961 in St Mary's Hospital in Manchester. And this year our sister Mary would have been celebrating her 62nd birthday had she not been killed. Our sister Mary was really beautiful inside and out. She was a loving, caring, compassionate, fun-loving, very sociable but shy at heart, witty and extremely very intelligent sister. She had the most outstanding looks, a real-life look-alike Farrah Fawcett Majors, right down to her hairstyle. We were all blessed to have her in our family. We have so many wonderful and beautiful memories of her, and simply not enough time to express all here today. Mary was our eldest sister. She was not only our big sister, but she was also a best friend to all of us, and she would keep our secrets of mischief. She was like a teacher at home also. If we got into difficulties with our homework, she was always so willing to help us and show us the easy solution to getting the answers right. Mary was my eldest sister, I was the youngest. So Mary was the oldest girl in the house. Then there was Anthony, Lorraine, Martina, Suzanne, and Neville obviously were twins, and John was in amongst all them. But Mary was probably the most caring part of the house apart from my mother. She was the one who used to look out for us all, and it was always our dream to help people. I wouldn't have been in the chats as much as the girls, but I remember them laughing one day saying Mary wanted to be a nun, you know, because she wanted to help people and stuff, and the girls were saying, but sure, if you're a nun you can't party with us and stuff. I remember that joke in the house. So
the bond was between the whole family. Like, we were all really, really close, very close. Like, even with Martina and all, like, and Lorraine and Suzanne and Neville. And then my youngest brother, he came 10 years later. And I kind of really knit the family right, really close, right, because he was the baby. And she was our big sister. And at times when we couldn't do our homework and all, like, she was always there and she'd help us. She was like a teacher as well at home. But, like, you wouldn't get away with a lot with her because she caught me smoking a few times and I was too young to be smoking, and she said, right, catch it one more time, I'm going to tell Mum and Dad. So then I said, right, tell you what, right, make a deal with you, right, take a drag off this, right, and then if you tell me, Ma, I'm smoking, I'd say you were too. So like that, she was always kind of like cooperative. She wouldn't get me into trouble. She'd always say, I'm going to get you into trouble, but she didn't. She was like best friend, really and truly.
Although Mary loved each and every one of us, it is very important for me to say here today that being the youngest brother and baby of the family, after a 10-year gap, Mary and Martina idolised me, as did all my sisters and brothers. But there was a very special bond between me and Mary. She really loved me so much, and there was never a day that would go by when she was leaving work that she would never forget to buy me something to bring home to me. It may have been just a cake, a bar of chocolate, a magazine or clothes, but she always had a thought for me with a little tree. I would be sitting on the doorstep in the front garden waiting on her every day to walk up the path. I'd done this for months after Mary died. I was only 3.5 and couldn't understand why Mary never came home. I walked up the path again. As I was very young, I did not understand what was going on. I remember the day of the funerals for Mary and Martina. My mum asked her neighbour across the road to mind me, my sister Suzanne and my brother Neville. My mum done this because she said we were too young to go to the funeral. I still recall looking out the window of my neighbour's house and seeing the funeral cars outside our house. I said to my sister Suzanne and brother Neville, look over at our house, there's a big wedding. I, as a young child, never seen a funeral, always seen weddings, and we would all run out for the grushy of the money being thrown up in the air. For years later, I would ask my mum and dad, where is Mary and Martina? My mum told me they were walking for Holy God up in heaven. I would ask, what is it like up there? My ma told me it's like Butlins. I would reply, can we go visit them? When will they be coming back? As I was getting older, our family home was like a hotel for families and deceased victims. Calling to speak to their parents, to my parents and survivors, or the media turning up, it was like a studio. I then became aware that Mary and Martina had been killed in the Stardust. It broke my heart. As I believed one day my sisters would come home, but they never did. Mary won the overall Student of the Year, and it was the Cabri Scholarship. She won this on the 15th of March 1977. She was presented with a certificate, £25, which is a lot of money back then, a box of chocolates and a tour around Cabri's factory in Coolock. Mary loved school. She was a fantastic pupil. Every teacher she ever had over the years extended great credit about her to our parents at all the parent-teacher meetings that they both would attend. Mary sat and completed her intermediate certificate in 1977 and achieved excellent results with 6 honours and 2 passes. She further went on to do her leaving certificate in 1979, and once again she gained the best results with all honours. To say she was ecstatic would have been an understatement. Everything Mary worked so hard to achieve, she got. She was so looking forward to the rest of her life in such a very positive way. She had great ambitions. I wanted so much to get every goal she set her mind on doing to achieve. It was always going to be onwards and upwards for Mary, every step forward for the rest of her life. Mary left school and went on to further herself once again. This time she secured a course in typing. Mary always classed this as her first ever job, although it was only to last 6 weeks. She was delighted at last. Not only was she progressing with more achievements to add to her curriculum vitae for employment for her future, but she was also being paid for this, and she wanted so much to contribute money to her parents as part of a wage to help the household. After Mary completed this course, she went on to get a brilliant job in RTV Rentals, Northside Shopping Centre, Coolock. Her job title was Receptionist Cashier Sales Assistant. She started this job on the 2nd of August 1979 and loved her employment and the colleagues she worked with. She continued to work there right up until Friday the 13th of February, Saturday the 14th of February 1981, when she was killed in the Stardust disaster.
Like our last birthday that we celebrated all together, right, our birthday was in June in 1980, and that was our 19th birthday, and we had a great night down in the Shielding Hotel. It was brilliant. The whole lot was like myself, my friend Helen, Mary Kenny that was killed as well, and her sister Angela, my brother's friends. The whole lot was all down the Shielding Hotel celebrating our birthday. It was a great night. And then we'd be planning, like, you know, the event we'd go and do the following weekend and what we're going to wear, everything else.
Mary had lots of love for life, and thinking back, happiness was paramount at the top of her list. Her hobbies included reading, writing, music, cooking and travelling. She had so many dreams for her future and wanted to fill them all in their entirety. While Mary was working in RTV Rentals, every opportunity she got, doing overtime she took, for she had one big desire: to give extra money to her parents to help them as they had helped her so much to reach her goals for all her achievements, and so she did. Mary loved travelling and adventures. Her first holiday was in 1977. Her class had been picked to travel to France, and they were all studying French language, and coincidentally, to Mary's surprise and delight, there was to be another class chosen for this holiday. The class nominated was Mary's younger brother John's class. They all travelled to France on the St. Helene ship and had the best holiday ever. Almost every long weekend would be special to Mary, Anthony, Mary Kenny, who was also killed in the Stardust, and their friend Helen. They would always go on a weekend to Rush, County Dublin, and spend the weekend in their friend Helen's mobile home. They were all just having the fun of their life. They all had real great times together. They decided, as they were all in full-time jobs, that they would save for an overseas holiday. They travelled from Dublin Airport with Aer Lingus and flew to England in the month of August 1980. They stayed with my mum's sister Rosaline and her husband John in the bungalow in Sussex. They had a fantastic holiday. They visited lots of places, including those of historic heritage. Before they came home, they went to the joke shops, which they had never seen before in Ireland, and decided they would bring home some souvenirs, home to have more laughs with their families. When they arrived home, they all made the decision that they would save up and go on another holiday following the summer of 1981. But this was not to be, as Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th, put an end to all their future plans as Mary Keegan, Martina Keegan, our sisters, and Mary Kenny, their best friend, was killed in the Stardust Fire. My dad, John Keegan, RIP, worked in Cadbury's on nights as a fitter's mate. On Friday the 13th, when my dad was working on the night shift, a colleague came up to him to tell him about the Stardust going on fire, which he had heard on the news bulletin on the radio. My dad went straight home, and as he drove his car into the garden, he noticed the porch light was still on. That rang alarm bells for him, as in our house there was a rule: last one in turns the porch light off. My dad went straight up the stairs, checked the boys' room where my brother John was there asleep. Then he went into my mum, Christine Keegan, RIP, where she too was sleeping. He woke my mum up and asked her was the girls home. My mother didn't know what was going on and went into the girls' bedroom, where there was 3 empty beds. My mum got dressed and they both went to the Stardust, which I've heard them talk about so much over the years. When they got to the Stardust, they couldn't believe what they saw. The Stardust was still on fire. They both panicked and were told by Gardaí to check all the hospitals, which they did, and only found my sister Anthony. They spent all day Saturday and Sunday in the city morgue, and on Sunday at 6 p.m. they were handed 2 plastic bags. One containing Mary's necklace, burnt beyond recognition with broken links, and another plastic bag contained Martina's rings, also burnt beyond recognition. The only identification visible was the signet ring, which still bore the initial MK, and the cladded ring. This was their worst nightmare, but it was reality. My mother then asked could she see her daughters, and was told by the Gardaí the coffin is closed, just remember them the way they are.
That's the necklace that Mary Lowdrester was wearing on the night, and that's what she was identified with. That's all that was left. But it was in pieces, and there used to be purple hearts on it, and the purple hearts were melted off. And my mother wasn't too sure that it was Mary's, so a Garda car was sent out to the family home to pick me up, to bring me into the morgue to identify the necklace, to make sure it was Mary's. And my mother and father were standing there, and I was asked, was that Mary's necklace? And are you sure? Are you 100%? And I said, yeah, it was definitely Mary's. And so my mother and father my mother went to the floor, and then my father tried to pick her up, but she was screaming because she was probably hoping that it wasn't Mary's. My mother had done an interview years after and showed the chain while she was doing the interview on the telly, and some jeweller in town approached my mother and said that he'd dip it in gold for her if she wanted it done, so he fixed it and dipped it in gold so that somebody could wear it. So I started wearing it, but the gold was wearing off and the black is coming through again.
After the Stardust, our house was never the same again. There was nothing but arguments. We grew up never knowing sadness. Our house was always a very happy home. We were all falling apart. No one dared to help us. We depended on our parents to keep us together, but they were falling apart with grief. At night time, we would all hear the sounds of our mum and dad crying. It was heartbreaking for all of us. Growing up as a young child, or young children to teenagers, we never witnessed our dad crying. We always believed that Dad was the strong man he was. But seeing him falling apart and trying to hide his grief was soul destroying for our mum and all of us.
For months after the Stardust, right, I always remember there was a yogurt that Mary loved, right, and my mum was still buying them in the shop, right, and putting them in the fridge. And he used to say, Ma, why are you doing that? Or it might be a mistake, she might be lost somewhere, she might come home. And Martina. Like, it was just, it shocked them, right, that Mary and Martina were dead, and they just couldn't believe it. None of us could. Like, mine being with them, the last person being with them, not even seeing them being buried, not even knowing they were dead. Like, that still kind of like plays on my mind. Like, I promised me ma and dad I'd look after them, and I always felt that I didn't look after them.
On the 21st of February 1981, a meeting was organised to be held in the local pub. The Black Sheep, all the families of the deceased victims turned up, and the parents of the survivors also. A committee was elected. It was called the Stardust Relatives Committee. The formation of this committee was parents and siblings of the deceased victims. While progress was being made, my dad thought it wasn't happening soon enough as years were going by. Then one day, while we were all sitting at home in the sitting room, my dad said, Chrissy, I'm going to set up a new committee. I am done with listening to all of that is getting said. Like John, you cannot rock the boat, sit still, be quiet and so on. The frustration got to my dad, so he drove to the Camelot Hotel, met the owner, Mr. Adam Farley, and asked could he have a function room for a meeting about the Stardust. Mr. Farley obliged him free of charge. The meeting took place on the 5th of May 1985, where hundreds turned up. My dad was unanimously elected as the chairman of the new committee. This was called the Stardust Victims Committee. It was then everything started to move. I commend my dad to this day for everything he done for the deceased victims and the survivors. He fought all right up to his dying breath. My mum then took over the position of chairperson, and I say it here today with great pride for such a small, beautiful lady. The strength, the courage and determination that she displayed was outstanding. She feared nobody. She stood tall for one thing only, was the truth and justice. My mum was instrumental in getting the government to do the external independent examination in 2008. Also the last review with retired Judge Pat McCartan. Then her biggest achievement, she honoured to have been involved in, was the launch of the Stardust Truth postcard campaign. This took place outside Dáil Éireann with Lynn Boylan and Enda Fanning on her daughter Mary's birthday, the 14th of June 2018. This was to have 48,000 postcards signed by the public to be hand-delivered to the then Attorney General. My mum travelled alongside with my sister Antoinette, Eugene Kelly and other family members, north, south, east and west of Ireland, setting up stalls, and the people of Ireland came to them, signed the postcards, and before they knew it, they'd exceeded their time limit. This was all thanks to the public for the support. On the 20th of November, they hand-delivered 48,000 Truth postcards with great support from Christy Moore, Charlie Board, Bloody Sunday families and the public as hundreds turned out this day. The nation had spoken. It was clear that it was in the public interest to have an inquest reopened. Then in February 2020, after the 39th anniversary on St. Valentine's Day, my mum took sick. She sadly passed away on the 14th of July 2020 as she lay in her dying bed. She was persistently asking us all the one big question, which meant so much to her. All she wanted to know was when the inquest was happening. We had to tell our mum a white lie to comfort her while she was dying. We told our mum it's happening very soon, ma.
It broke my dad's heart, right, because he died in 1986 of cancer. He never smoked a cigarette in his life. And it broke my ma's heart because she continuously campaigned for justice for her two daughters, Mary and Martina, and 46 other victims. And right up to her untimely death, right, she never gave up.
My mum died without knowing when the inquest was going to happen. It was 3 weeks after she passed away it was announced. It is heartbreaking that due to the passage of time, our mum is not present here today. There is an empty chair where she should be sitting and another empty chair where Eugene Kelly, brother of the late Robert Kelly, should be sitting. After all, my mum and Eugene done to get us to the place today. I held her in for so long, and if we'd have got the support and the help we needed, I would be a completely different person. And I'm so overprotective over my kids because I don't let them out my sight. I won't. Like even my 20-year-old girls, I'm going in and collecting them in town rather than, you know, and I'm ringing them at 1 o'clock in the morning. Where he is the place packed? You know, you shouldn't be, like I shouldn't be like that. You know, I should be letting my kids live their life, but I can't because, like I said, I've seen the damage it done to my house and I couldn't bury 2 kids.
I'm still very proud of her and I miss her terribly, I really do. I do. I often wonder, like, you know, she was beautiful, she would have got married. She was actually going out with a fella that night. She was to meet him, but he didn't turn up. He was drinking in the Silver Swan. And, like, she wasn't upset about her, but at the same time, I could see her, she was looking around to see was he there. I do often wonder, like, would she have got married, how many kids she would have had, like, and many grandkids my mum and dad would have had, because if the Stardust hadn't happened, I know for a fact my mum and dad would be still alive.
I remember all the days where I'd sit on the steps and our landing window, there's about 4 steps up, so I wasn't the tallest of kids, but I was able to sit on the step and I'd be able to see out the window during the day, or I'd normally sit on the porch step looking out, waiting on her to come in. I knew exactly what time she was coming in at. As I said, people sort of think, oh, he's only 3.5, but I remember back then, I remember her coming in. I just couldn't believe that I'd never see her again after that, you know what I mean? I would like to read an extract out here today on behalf of my late mum. This was done while she patiently awaited the Attorney General to make the decision of reopening the inquest to the deaths of her 2 beautiful daughters, Mary and Martina Keegan, and the 46 victims who died in the Stardust. My mum put pen to paper. She was so determined that she was going to read this out in the coroner's court on her day to speak for her daughters, Mary and Martina, for truth and justice. As a mother of 2 very precious daughters who were struck down in their teenage years and burned to death, I would like to say a few words about the way we have been treated from 1981 to 2019. The morning of the 14th of February is a morning I will never forget. I was awoke by my husband John to tell me that the Stardust had gone on fire. I checked the girls' bedrooms and found their beds empty. I got dressed and went to the Stardust with my husband John. When we got there, we could not believe what we saw. It was like out of a horror film, but it was reality. There was firemen and ambulance men carrying stretchers with body bags on them. Never in my wildest dreams did I think my daughters were among them. The police told us to check the hospital, and so we did. We checked Jervis Street, the Mater, the Richmond, the Maid, St James's Hospital, and finally Dr Stevens' Hospital, where we found Anthony. We were told she was there and passed her bed twice. We could not believe it when we saw her. She was not able to breathe. She was on a life support machine and a priest had just anointed her while she was there. Anthony was unrecognisable. She could see us but could not say anything. We reassured her she will be okay. When we were leaving the hospital in search for our other 2 daughters, Mary and Martina, the doctor called myself and my husband to tell us that it would be 50-50 if Anthony would survive, as her lung had collapsed and there was quite a lot of damage to the other lung. Although we were delighted to find Anthony, our hopes were dashed with the thoughts of losing her. We felt relieved we had found Anthony. We thought Mary and Martina had to be in another hospital. We went on to search St Vincent's Hospital, which was our last hope, and they were not there. We could not find them, so we went to Coolock Garda Station and we were told to go to Dublin Castle, where we were then told to go to the city morgue. We spent all day Saturday and Sunday there, and at 6 p.m. we were given 2 plastic bags, one containing Mary's necklace burned and links broken and was beyond recognition. The other plastic bag was Martina's 2 rings, also extensively burned. This was all I had to identify my beautiful daughters. I asked to see my daughters and was told the coffin is closed, remember them the way they were. We buried Mary and Martina on the 18th of February 1981. The Stardust tore our family apart. It has to be the saddest thing for any parent to have to bury their children. It was the worst day of my whole life. After the funeral, I had to go home, change my mourning clothes and go visit my daughter who survived and tell her lawyers to keep her alive. I had to tell her Mary and Martina were doing great and were asking for her. This we were able to do for 2.5 weeks. Then a priest told her out of no harm. He did not know, she was not aware, both her sisters had been killed. The Stardust Fire took all our happy days away from us. It took away all our belief in faith, and it took away our trust with successive governments over the years. We felt abandoned and all alone. and left like lambs to the slaughter. Everything was brushed under the carpet to keep the truth hidden. I would like to ask a question to the government, the establishments and its agencies. What did we families of the deceased victims of the Stardust Fire ever do on the government to deserve this ill treatment and consistent systematic abuse we have sustained for the past 38 years? Although my two sisters, Mary R.I.P. and Anthony, were both born in England, they were both Irish citizens. I have heard Anthony saying over the years since the Stardust Fire that she loves her country, but dislikes our successive governments and their establishment since 1981. She quotes, "I am ashamed I am an Irish citizen for what they did to our family since the 14th of February 1981. I live in hope and pray for this day to come, for truth and justice for my two beautiful sisters, Mary and Martina, the other 46 victims, my dad and my mum. They can all then rest in peace." Unfortunately, my mum didn't live for this day to come, as she sadly passed away on the 14th of July 2020, leaving us all heartbroken. We miss our mum so much. She held us all together through thick and thin. She was the most beautiful mother we were all blessed to have. She was like a Trojan of a woman for truth and justice. Oh, we can never walk our mum's walk or stand in her shoes. We, the Keegan family, vow we will continue to get the truth and justice in love and memory of our beloved mum and dad, as well as our two beautiful sisters, Mary and Martina, R.I.P.